Welcome to Aging on the Suncoast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Catherine Bursch. As the Outreach Manager for the Area Agency on Aging, Pasco-Pinellas, I'm your host today. We have a great program coming up focusing on storm preparedness. First, we'll talk with the experts about how to prepare for severe storms or a hurricane and things that especially seniors need to think about. And in the second half of the program, we'll show you how Bay Area Legal Services is hitting the road with a new rolling office that's storm ready. But first off, let's talk about this storm season. Here in Pinellas and Pasco, we are already well into it. Hurricane season officially started on June 1st. So, what are the weather folks saying about this year's storm season? Well, let's hear from our own local expert. Here's 10 Tampa Bay's Chief Meteorologist, Bobby Deskins.
Well, as we head into August, the hurricane season tends to increase in activity a little bit. September 10th is the statistical peak of the season, but it's been fairly quiet, right? And so far, so good, although I do think we'll see a few things pop up during the month of August. But one of the reasons why it's been so quiet is El Nino. And I know you've heard a lot about it, so let's talk about it. That is when we have warmer than normal water along the equator in the Pacific Ocean west of South America. So let's take a look at the water. Look at that. You can see how warm it is. In fact, we are officially in an El Nino, and this will likely be the warmest record level El Nino that we've seen. All right, now this water warms up, it interacts with the atmosphere above it, that shifts weather patterns around the globe. But when that happens, those shifts in the weather patterns, they actually affect our hurricane season. That Pacific jet, you see it moving across the southern United States. That is normally up here. But during summer times when it gets shifted to the south because of El Nino, it creates more wind shear over the Atlantic basin where we try and make hurricanes, right? Wind shear is not good for hurricanes. Normally the wind goes around, it comes up, it spreads out. That's why if you're looking at a satellite, it's a nice big round hurricane. Well, when wind shear is present, the hurricane tries to grow up, but then it runs into the wind shear, and that tilts it and disrupts the wind flow, making it hard to make hurricanes. Remember Bertha that formed in the Eastern Gulf? Just really couldn't get going because of all the wind shear there, right? Now, we are looking at the wind shear coming down a little bit, at least in the Gulf the first couple weeks of August, but look at the Caribbean and look out in the Atlantic. Things seem to keep that shear going. That is good news. That would make it harder for storms to form. Now, the forecasts are calling for even lower than normal, about 9 named storms from Colorado State University. But remember, it only takes one.
Thanks for that insight, Bobby. So now we know what the weather experts are saying about this storm season. And folks from the government have also been prepping. Joining me now is Jess McCracken from Pinellas County. She's got a big, long title, Whole Community Readiness Coordinator. That's a big job. How's it been going so far?
Great. So that is a really fancy way of saying I get to do all the education and outreach programs here in Pinellas County to help all types of communities and all areas of the county prepare for hurricane season.
And you try to reach all the different communities and just make sure we're all thinking about what we should be doing, right?
Absolutely. And with 24 municipalities, we work very closely with our partners to help us extend that outreach. And we have working groups that get together monthly to talk about what areas we've been to make sure that we're reaching all those gaps and reaching all the communities that need to hear from us.
Now that even though forecasters predict a mild season, why should people still be on guard?
So an average hurricane season has 14 named storms, 3 of those typically major hurricanes. And so the National Hurricane Center is forecasting 8 to 14 named storms this year. So even though it is on the lower side, hurricane season is not canceled by any means. We live in Florida and it really only takes one storm. So it's important that everybody prepare as usual. We don't change our jobs, our planning, our training, our exercise, and the residents of Pinellas should also follow suit.
I know it was a little quieter last year. Are you kind of fearful that people become complacent?
Fearful, no, but aware, yes. So we build that into our outreach and education programs. In addition to a quieter season last year, I think the 2024 storms also brought some storm fatigue. So it's like if I don't think about it, if I put my head in the sand, it's not going to happen. So we really need folks to prepare just as they would for any other season. Knock on wood that we have a quieter year this year, and we can utilize this year to do some mitigation projects, harden your homes, and just keep building those emergency kits and build out your plan each year.
Plus, so many people keep moving here that maybe aren't familiar with what we go through.
Absolutely, and we always hear, well, this is the first time I've ever had to think about hurricanes before. So we're very lucky in the sense that hurricanes give us plenty of warning, but we do have that rapid intensification. So it's important that folks stay prepared.
Well, if they haven't done it so far, what should folks be doing right now to prepare then?
We always tell folks to know your risk, make a plan, and stay informed. And by know your risk, we mean know your home, know your zone, and that includes know your community. So if you live in a shared community like a condo association or an independent living facility, know what that community's plan is. So if you live in a condo association, talk to your property manager, find out what those plans are. And by know your risk, we just mean know your evacuation zone, know your home, know what your home is vulnerable to. And then it's much easier to make a plan once you know what you're going to be doing when an evacuation order is called.
I also think it's always really a good idea to know your neighbors as well, because in a disaster type situation, we all help each other out, and it's good to be able to check on someone or have them check on you to see how things are going.
Absolutely, and if you live in a shared community, you can share resources, buy something in bulk and help everybody kind of build those kits out. It's important to also have the conversations with your professionals that you work with in terms of insurance, registering for contractor services, restoration contractor services ahead of the storm. Get on those lists. A lot of times they're free to register, and then you'll be one of the first calls that is made after the storm. You don't want to be looking for a roofer when everybody's looking for a roofer. And we had a lot of folks coming in, contractors coming in from out of the state after the storm, unfortunately, taking advantage of folks that have already experienced their worst day. So having those vetted, licensed, bonded, insured contractors, pre-registered, it really will change the whole experience.
Now, this program is about seniors, focusing on seniors. When it comes to storm prep, are there things that maybe seniors especially should be thinking about? One thing that comes to mind is maybe prescriptions or medicine that they need.
Sure. So when there's a declaration made, you can get a 30-day refill of your prescription ahead of time. So registering for our special needs program, if you've got that elevated level of medical care that you're required to maintain, registering for the special needs assistance program. If you need transportation to a shelter, registering for that transportation assistance ahead of time. Alert Pinellas, Ready Pinellas, we've got a lot of really great resources at our fingertips. So registering for Alert Pinellas to get those emergency alerts, that's how we communicate with the community before, during, and after a storm. And then if you like to do things on your phone, we've got Ready Pinellas, which is an app, and it's got all the information that our website has. Disaster.pinellas.gov is our one-stop shop website, and hurricane guide information. There's a lot of resources. Pinellas is very resource rich, but knowing where to get that information is going to be your first step.
Before you're in panic mode.
That's right.
And I hate to bring up a lot of bad memories, but how bad did it get for some folks in Milton and Helene?
So I think it really impacted the entire county, the entire community. So there was a lot of lessons learned from our team's perspective and a lot of lessons learned across the community. So, between the two storms, we had over 30,000 homes that were damaged. And Helene was over 100 miles off of our coast. So Helene brought the surge, Milton brought the wind and the rain, and so it was a cascade of impacts, and the impacts from Helene really were exacerbated by the impacts from Milton. And so we learned what it looks like to have two major storms come to our area in 2 weeks apart. So We had a lot of recovery operations, and the first time Pinellas has really experienced this level of recovery. So there are folks that are still going through it.
Absolutely,
and,
folks still
will be.
trying to get back on their feet.
That's right. So the storm is typically quick to come through, but recovery can take years.
If we do have an evacuation order issued, what are the options for people?
Sure. So you can go to a host home, which is a home of a family or a friend.
That's what I've done before.
That's right. In a non-evacuation zone, let them, call them up, make those plans ahead of time so they know you're coming. Think about everything. Think about pets. Think about everybody that you take care of in your everyday setting, and making sure that those are all included in your plan. Airbnb, hotel, motel, make sure that you're calling ahead of time and making those reservations. You want to go somewhere that's in a non-evacuation zone. You can go out of the area, and then you could also take advantage of one of the Pinellas County's emergency shelters.
Those shelters are really the last resort, though, right? No, they're safe, but they are not as comfy as like a hotel room, that's for sure.
So we say it's a lifeboat, not a cruise ship, right? So the lights are going to be on. Yep, the lights are going to be on 24 hours. It's going to be loud. It's going to be close quarters. But we definitely don't want you to stay put. If you don't have anywhere to go and you don't have any arrangements made and you need to take advantage of one of those emergency shelters, we've got general population, pet friendly, and our special needs shelters.
When you talk about special needs, what does that mean?
So special needs shelters are for those folks that have that elevated level of medical care requirement. So they're oxygen dependent, electric dependent, maybe receiving dialysis, or any of the folks that just need transportation assistance. They would register for the special needs assistance program.
When you're out in the community talking with folks, are there some misconceptions that you tend to come across that people have?
We hear a lot of them. I like to write down the really off the wall ones because it's a teaching opportunity.
It's a gut check.
That's right, and especially folks that are coming from areas that are not normally impacted by this type of weather. So one of the biggest misperceptions that we heard after the 2024 storms was I didn't know damage from storm surge wasn't covered by my homeowner's insurance. And so that's a big one. So having those conversations up front, again, with those professionals that you talk to about those specific needs is really, really important.
Where can people get information like the topics that we've been talking about? I know we both have this. This is like my Bible. You've got one too. Can people still get these hurricane guides, or is this information on your website?
Both, yes. So these can be picked up at any government building across the county. We have 2 locations. They're listed on our website, disaster.pinellas.gov, where you could pick up bulk hurricane guides. So if you've got a community that you're trying to, be that leader force for, you can pick up bulk copies of this. Disaster.pinellas.gov, I can't say it enough. That is our one-stop shop. It's everything that you need to stay safe before, during, and after the storm. And then Alert Pinellas, Ready Pinellas, those are our major communication platforms.
Well, we've been talking about what residents can and should be doing. Pinellas County government has also been prepping for the storm. You recently had like a hurricane exercise. Tell me how that all worked.
So we did a full-scale county-wide hurricane exercise. It was a week long, and so we did a full activation in our emergency operations center, so it just as if it was actually happening in the community. Again, 24 municipalities, that's a lot of people at the table, and cities are working in their own emergency operations centers, so we all need to coordinate those efforts, so we're not duplicating efforts, we're not having any gaps in the community in terms of responding to the storm. And so we had all the agencies in the Emergency Operations Center. We have 110 seats in there, and that is kind of the hub of where everything is happening during the storm. And so we did our Alpha and our Bravo shift, just like we would during a regular activation. During the storms, we are activated 24 hours a day. We stand up the County Information Center, which is the public-facing call center where residents can call in to find out where can I get sandbags, what evacuation zones were called for this order, anything that you need. I need a wellness check on somebody that's in this community. So we stand up all parts of the Emergency Operations Center, and it really helps to coordinate and strengthen our response and recovery efforts.
Communication in those type of events is so key, and so I imagine an exercise like this, you just want to make sure there are no bugs in the system, that type of thing.
That's right, and we have the seats in the Emergency Operations Center are all representation of the agencies that respond boots on the ground. So we've got Duke Energy, we've got everything from Human Services to EMS, 911, you know, the whole layout. And so some of these folks that are not maybe in the emergency services part of it, they don't do this every single day. And so it's second nature to us, but it's really great to get those folks in. And plus with the turnover, you know, we want to make sure that the new folks are versed and ready to go and understand what's expected, what their role is, what their responsibilities are, and how we're there to support.
Is this something that Connie's done in the past?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have a training exercise coordinator that puts all of this together for us. We have injects that we write based on real life experiences from especially the 2024 storms. And we kind of throw those in as the exercise goes to mix it up a little bit and run through what it would look like if we were to really get those calls.
How can the community work with your team to kind of, you know, make sure that we're all safe and cooperate together?
Sure. So we launched a program called Partners in Preparedness in May, and that is for any organized group. So it can be a faith-based group, it could be a condo association, even just like a Rotary, an Elks Club. But if you've got somebody that communicates with this group, you've got that list of contacts, so you can register as a partner in preparedness, and we will send that contact our safety messaging, preparedness messaging. It's not going to be an overload of information, but just a way to say, hey, this is a way for us to reach your contacts. We don't necessarily have, you know, access to certain groups, or it's a force multiplier. So that's one way. We've got our voluntary organizations active in disasters. So think about like your Red Cross, your Salvation Army, Bay Area Legal Services. Those folks, it's a little bit more faith-based, so you can come to our VOAD meetings and learn about what other agencies do in terms of response and recovery in the community. We've got our Volunteers in Disasters and our Volunteers in Pinellas, our VIP program, so you can get involved and volunteer during Blue Skies or even work in our Emergency Operations Center with us.
It just really does take a team, doesn't it?
Absolutely. We don't do anything alone.
Thanks for this incredible information, Jess. Thanks for all you do in the community and what your coworkers do to really work to keep us all safe. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks so much for having us.
Well, now stick around. Coming up after the break, we'll show you how legal help is hitting the road.
Discover Brooker Creek Preserve, Pinellas County's wildest place. With nearly 9,000 acres of natural beauty, it's more than a preserve. It's a living classroom. Explore hands-on exhibits, hike over 4 miles of scenic trails, and spot wildlife like deer and gopher tortoises. From free programs to fun family events, there's always something going on at the Environmental Education Center, open Thursday through Sunday. And don't forget, our preserve and trails are open 7 days a week, so anytime is a great time to explore Brooker Creek. Visit brookercreekpreserve.org to learn more.
I was told that I needed to sign up with FEMA because we may not know everything that has happened to this point. So the whole process was comforting. Please don't even question it. Just come on and talk to these folks. If you have questions about whether or not you're eligible, they'll tell you. It's good to know that there are people who know what's going on and help us through this.
Welcome back to Aging on the Suncoast. I'm Catherine Bursch. Weathering a hurricane can be rough, and along with all the damage people might have and the debris piling up, well, you can also often add some legal problems to that pile. And that's where a new vehicle might just roll in to the rescue. I knew it. Bay Area Legal Services is celebrating a new team member.
It's a new way of delivering justice.
Not a person, but a big van.
Learning how to drive this vehicle has been a little bit nerve-wracking.
This disaster mobile unit has recently been making appearances at hurricane preparedness expos, so people can get a quick tour. The van's built to respond to disaster areas, so Bay Area legal staff can reach people in their own neighborhoods.
It's really a new innovation in our outreach abilities to allow us to really get into communities in a way that we have not before.
It even has a soundproof room for confidential discussions.
You see here it's lined with a particular type of fabric that absorbs sound. We have a pocket door that can extend right over here to close this off so that once we're on site, if folks need immediate assistance, we can bring them into the office and they can discuss confidentially their issues with an attorney on site.
If a storm hits, the mobile unit is designed to help staff deliver legal advice quickly and conveniently to hard-hit areas.
I think this is really going to allow Bay Area to interact with the community more than it ever has before in the disaster relief front of what we're doing.
However, if there are no storms, the van will still be used in other ways, hitting the road with legal experts to help low-income residents smooth their own bumpy legal roads. Joining me now is Jason Susella from Bay Area Legal Services. You just saw him in that video. Jason's still pretty excited about that van?
Very much so. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to engage the community unlike we've ever been able to before, especially rural communities that may not have access to our services otherwise. But this vehicle is also going to give us a wonderful opportunity. Well, I say wonderful tongue-in-cheek, but an important opportunity to better and more effectively respond to disasters on site where people actually need the help. Because there are legal issues where people need help immediately following a storm.
So we have a storm. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But if we do have a storm, how do you envision this all working? Kind of finding obviously a safe place in the neighborhood where people can come to you, but they don't have to travel far?
Certainly. So we work very closely with the county and many other disaster relief partners and anticipate that should an incident impact our area, we will be coordinating with all of them to find events and areas that would be appropriate to deploy the van. The van is self-sustaining, of course, so it does not need utilities. For example, it can generate its own power. It has its own internet, so it's a self-sufficient vehicle in itself. So as long as the area is practically safe, we can deploy it out to the communities that may be in need, that can come and look for resources, and we may be able to help on site.
And that's something you haven't been able to do before.
That's correct. Only with pop-up clinics, under
a tent
tents and exactly, lack of air conditioning, which this vehicle has 2 air conditioning units. And those sorts of things are very important, of course, for client services and being able to engage folks on figuring out exactly what their legal needs are and trying to help.
When there is a storm, are there some typical issues that do arise for people that they need some advice on or legal help?
Yes, certainly so. Now, I'll be clear, I manage our disaster relief team specifically, and we focus on helping survivors with disaster-related legal issues. What I want to be clear about is that can really be any sort of legal issue as long as it has a relation to a disaster. But I can tell you some of the more prominent issues we see. Right after a storm, we're going to see a lot of housing issues where folks are, say, being illegally evicted or landlords are not fixing a property appropriately. Many resources come up where people are wrongly denied, like disaster unemployment assistance or the DSNAP program, disaster SNAP benefits and replacement SNAPs. For FEMA in the 2024 storm season, we had a lot of folks who were wrongly denied assistance, so we jumped in there to help people with FEMA appeals. And as time progresses, more issues evolve in long-term recovery, such as insurance issues, such as contractor issues, issues with mobile home law, issues with home ownership, et cetera, et cetera.
It just kind of rolls along, and as the process goes, there are more things that come up.
It's a year-long cycle. It really never ends. When we're not in the immediate response of a disaster, we are in long-term recovery or preparedness.
But that immediate response, I think, is so important. I mean, people are, in crisis, and just to be able to talk to someone and get some ideas must be a relief.
Yes. So many situations, people will approach us, with a legal issue, and we'll tell them, here's information on the situation, but think about it and call us later, and we can unwind it. But there are certain legal issues that must be triaged immediately following a storm. For example, if someone is a renter and they're being evicted for non-payment of rent or something like that, that sort of issue can move very, very quickly in the state. So it's important for us to be out there to know immediately when people are getting these notices so we can help instantly and avoid loss of housing, for example. But a lot of these other assistance programs we're talking about earlier, the deadlines come up very quickly and people get denied and don't know the appeal process. So a lot of these issues right up front, it's important to connect with people so that we can help to make sure we don't miss any important deadlines.
So if we do have a quiet storm season, and let's hope we do, is the van just going to sit in the parking lot, or will you find some other uses for this van as well?
There will always be uses for the vehicle. Just as an example, what we've done already this year, where we have not yet had any storms, there are many hurricane preparedness events throughout our county region. So that's a great opportunity for us to bring it out to these events, display it for the public, connect with people so they understand, that we have this new vehicle and can access it. But also other large events. Bay Area engages in a lot of different outreach. Just as another example, too, coming Veterans Day, November 11th, our St. Pete office will be hosting a Veterans Law Day. We don't know the location yet exactly, but they've asked me, can you bring out the van to this event? And I said, sure, let's do it. So there'll be those events occurring throughout the year and everything that we'll be planning to bring the vehicle out outside of immediate disaster issues.
And it helps spread the word about Bay Area Legal's existence and the help that you can provide when you've got a big something to show.
That's absolutely. It's a great set piece, if nothing else.
Absolutely. So we've been talking about the van, but Bay Area Legal has offices in the area. What type of besides disaster-focused legal help, what type of services do you offer?
So Bay Area is composed of many different teams focusing on certain subject areas of law and focusing on certain demographics. So for example, again, I manage our disaster relief team, focused on assisting disaster survivors with disaster-related legal issues. We have a family law team focusing on family law issues. We have a housing team focusing on housing issues. We also have a senior team focusing on helping seniors with a variety of legal issues. We have a veterans team, again, focused on veterans and veteran-related issues.
Impressive.
So there are many different teams all sort of doing different things. But also beyond that, we have a lot of branch offices in the different service region counties we cover. And those are often general service teams, where that whole team, say Newport Richey or Dade City, those offices are general service offices where people can come in with whatever civil legal issue they may have, and that office may be able to assist them.
And who's eligible for these services?
That's a great question with a slightly complicated answer.
Okay.
Generally speaking, the easiest way to say it is we serve lower income individuals and families. Bay Area is a nonprofit law firm. We receive funding from a variety of grants. Different grants have sometimes slightly different eligibility standards. And this is based on things like we receive money for our veterans team with a higher income eligibility for veterans, right? So if someone calls in and is a veteran, they're going to be slotted into the veterans team. Senior, similar situation. Disaster team, similar situation.
Different buckets of money.
Exactly right. So generally speaking, lower income individuals and families are who we're going to be able to serve.
What does Bay Area Legal not do?
So there are a few things we don't do. One, primarily, I will say, are criminal items.
Okay.
We are unable to handle that. Further, we are unable to handle fee-generating cases, as they call them. Best example I can give you is a case that a private attorney would likely accept, say, on a contingency fee where they don't require any legal fees up front, like a auto accident or a slip and fall case, personal injury, things like that. Those are sorts of cases that we would be unable to take. And
for people wondering if Bay Area Legal can help them, you have a number of helplines.
We do. We have 3. I remember one number, and that's our statewide disaster relief helpline, where people from anywhere in the state can call in for legal help, and that is 833-514-2940. We also have a senior legal aid helpline where any senior in the state can apply for assistance, and a veterans statewide legal helpline. Those numbers, I would suggest you go to our website to look them up. That would be www.bals.org.
So that's the best way for folks to find out if the problem they're dealing with is something that Bay Area Legal can help.
That's right. I would always suggest if people have a legal issue and they want to try to talk to us, just give us a call. You'll speak to a screener. They'll figure out if they can work with you to slot us in for an appointment if you're eligible. So just give a call and see if you're eligible, and we'd love to help. And again, if you're calling, understand that we can sometimes just have a conversation. It doesn't have to be that we're going to force you to go to court. That is not our intent. Our intent is to make sure that our applicants are getting what they want. And sometimes just having a discussion with an attorney can be the solution.
Now, this show does deal with senior issues, and you've got this special senior helpline. When it comes to seniors, are there certain problems that they tend to call you for?
So our senior team handles all sorts of legal issues brought in by seniors, and I actually just reached out to the team leader of our senior advocacy unit earlier today to get an idea of some of the more prominent issues they were seeing lately. One that she mentioned immediately was unlawful solicitation for contracts such as solar panels, roofing, water softeners, where a senior is forced into a bad contract and the products that are installed are insufficient, defective, or whatever it might be. Foreclosures are ramping up a bit on that too, as we understand. Relative caregiver situations where, say, a grandparent is taking care of a minor, seeing custody issues along that is another issue they're seeing predominantly. And crippling debt. We're having seniors reach out to us who have extremely high credit card debts and things like that. So we can explore situations, for example, like bankruptcy to try to discharge debt.
Certainly, when someone has a legal problem like that, it just weighs on their shoulders and can affect so many parts of their lives. This is really important work you do. About how many people do you help every year?
I think it's hard to overstate the need for legal aid. There have been studies to show that so many Americans struggle with legal issues, and because of the lack of resources, they cannot afford a private attorney to help them resolve issues. So legal aid is effectively a program that tries to cover that gap. Last year, the firm opened more than 15,000 cases.
Wow.
And those are cases, right? So a case could be someone applying, but they have a household, like a mother, say, with 3 children. That's a household of 4. So perhaps the legal issue we're helping with affects the entire household. So the actual number of people that we're helping is far and beyond that.
Exponential.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all that great information, Jason. Thanks for all the work that Bay Area Legal does in the community. And good luck driving that van. We'll see you down the road.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
Once again, I'm from the Area Agency on Aging Pasco-Pinellas. We're a not-for-profit group, and our primary mission is to help seniors live safely in their homes longer. And to do that, we provide a wide variety of services. We also serve people with disabilities. So if you need some help around the house or know of someone who could use assistance, call the Area Agency on Aging's helpline. That number is 1-800-963-5337. Once again, that number is 1-800-963-5337. That helpline really is the doorway to any kind of senior services. Once again, thanks for joining us today for Aging on the Suncoast. I'm Catherine Bursch. Live well at home.